as a gay in Tunisia, it's not a place where you can be yourself, where you can feel free to be yourself. We are considered as criminals in the eye of the society and the eye of the law. Being gay in Tunisia is basically, it is illegal, because you can easily go to jail for 3 years of imprisonment, and it's very easy, even police can suspect your behavior or your the way you dress up, the way you walk, the way you talk, and you can be judged on that. And they have all the right to arrest you. They have all the right also to force you to do the anal test. The anal test is an illegal practice against the human rights to prove your homosexuality. Once it is approved by the doctor or by the police, so directly you end up in jail. That means you are not a citizen, you are not, maybe animal is better treated than a human being. My life in Tunisia was, let's say, in different topics, professionally and personally. Professionally, I was a teacher or professor at the University of High Institute of Dramatic Art of Tunis, and also instructor of dance in a French dance company. I never had a stable childhood like other kids, straight kids. I remember my aunt used to do every day 1 hour for me to train my vocals, my voice to sound like a man. I remember also my uncle, he used to wake me up in the morning, very early in the morning, let's say around 4 a.m. to wash his car in winter. For him it's an act to train me how to be strong and to be a man, because for them being, and I was a kid, I didn't understood what was happening around me, and nowadays I just realized this is torture for being different. So I felt very misunderstood from the society, I felt very misunderstood from my family, I felt very understood from the universe. So I decided to fight for myself. Fighting for myself, it wasn't easy. So I was kicked out, but I decided to leave the house and to start a new journey, and I live on my own, and it started at the age of 16 years old, where I discovered the gay community, and it started with the LGBTIQ members, and some of them also, they were kicked out from their houses, and the only thing to do is to work, to be a sex worker, or being an activist, so I was very lucky to have these people who took care of me, who were always on the watch, and they were always pushing me to achieve results, to finish my studies, and to understand the cause, to understand the signs, which places are safe, which places are not safe, how to react if a police arrests you. So I felt there is something needs to be done. Why a straight man needs to have a perfect life? Whether me, I have to be miserable, to be myself. So I decided to do what I want, and I started dressing the way I want, and I started speaking up and say loudly, yes, I am a gay person. I came to Malta on the 7th or the 8th of August 2017, and for cultural, artistic collaboration and work. And on the 8th, I received the calls, I received messages on Facebook, I received pictures on Facebook, and my house was invaded by people from a neighborhood with, they have knife. Pictures are showing. When I went to the REFCAM, I showed to them all the documentation that I had. And then I realized that I am very lucky that I wasn't in Tunisia in that moment. Otherwise, I would not be here with you guys. I would be somewhere else maybe. And And I was terrified. I was terrified because I was expecting, to be honest, I don't want to say I was shocked, because it's not being LGBTIQ member in Tunisia, this is the way we think. We are expecting worse than that. It's a problem for me to live abroad because it was very easy, but I never thought about it. It will be forced. I will be forced to live abroad to keep myself alive. I never thought about that moment. And I decided to go to apply for my international protection. And since then, things changed rapidly. The process is pretty hard, as there is a big lack of information. And you can feel the bureaucracy going on there. It's something out of this world. I mean, it's nothing against the people they are working there, but it's something against the system in general, how the system is dividing people, how the system was made to make people's life more miserable than it is. And this is my experience. So basically, when I went there, you feel scared, you feel anxious, unaccepted, unwanted. And this is the place, the definition of the place: unwanted, unaccepted, disliked. I don't want you to be here. The interview, I felt I was very judged. I felt like I am sitting in front of someone, and this one is observing me and taking remarks about me. And I was like, I am not okay with that. I was, because almost all the details, my personal information was written in the wrong way. So I was all the time, can you please, this is not the way how we write this thing. And also I felt very judged because one of the questions, what is your religion? And I explained, I do not belong to any community, I do not belong to any religions, I have my own beliefs. And I felt I was very judged, because at that moment he was showing his beliefs and he was showing his religion, and I didn't feel comfortable about it. I felt like I am, and somehow I am attacked, but it wasn't really attacked, but I felt it that way, because when you do an interview, there is certain manner, there is a guidelines, there is a way and manners, the way we have to ask questions. We don't put emotions into the questions. So I felt very judged about that. My life in Malta, it's just like a rainbow. So I work, I have a good job, I like my job, I have let's say a good life. It's what I like about Malta is very beautiful, it's very attractive, it keeps you always alive. You have the sea around you. It's very easy to make friends. It's very easy to talk to people. So the quality of life, there is no stress. Like in Tunisia, I have everything, but all the time, 24 hours, I was stressed. I was scared. Here, I'm not scared. I feel very safe. My goals. As a dreamer, as an artist, is to create an international platform for artists, for myself to achieve all my goals, to see one day maybe in Tunisia we will have the gay pride. I hope so. It will be something fantastic. I want to have a very peaceful life. No one in this world leaves his country to go to live in another country for any other reasons except being safe, being happy, being accepted and feeling accepted. I want also to be a very international artist. It will come one day. And also I want to finish, or I want to do a PhD, so I can finish doing my lectures and I can travel the world and teaching and giving workshop like I used to do before. And yes, things are getting greater and greater and greater every time.
For someone to be homosexual in Egypt, for the government in their social life, it's so hard. They can get into a lot of trouble, especially if someone shows that he's gay in his way of speaking or in his appearance. This is the story of my military application. I went to apply normally. It was a late application. It is well known that if someone applying for the military is recognized as gay, he will be excluded and he will get a different certificate. It's not like the normal certificate. He will be stigmatized. The procedure that they take is humiliating, and the way that they deal with the issue is humiliating for someone who is gay. There is a test that they do, and I believe that it's inhumane. They ask someone to remove their clothes and to show the intimate parts of their body. And they do a test to prove his homosexuality. There was a concert of a band called Mashru Leila, and the lead singer, Hamed Sinner, was openly gay, a Lebanese. A lot of people went there, and someone raised the gay flag. There were a lot of media discussions and social discussions after that. And a lot of hate happened just after that concert. There was a lot of imprisonment. There was a lot of torture. And this was all shown. At that point, from that point, the problem started to be raised. I had been thinking of leaving Egypt anyway, and I decided that that's it, and that I cannot survive there anymore. I needed to get out, and I needed to take the first step. I'm someone who tries to act straight so that I don't get any attention in society. It might be hard for someone else. Maybe that's why I got to avoid the problem. But at the same time, I want to live a normal life as I want. Not as society wants, as a gay person. This can't be happening in Egypt. Especially the fact that the government was aware of certain applications for gays. And they started creating fake profiles and stopping people and arresting people through these apps. I wanted to get out of Egypt in a regular way. So, for me, deciding to choose the irregular way to travel is their proof that it's a difficult life to live. I put my life in danger. I can die. I'm walking in the Sahara and I can die at any time. And yet, I decided to go this way because it's impossible to survive there. I made my way from Egypt to Libya through the borders. And after making it through to Libya in this hard way, I was arrested for 12 days there at the borders. I paid money to go out. Then I continued on my way. I didn't go there to stay in Libya. I was planning to come here, to Europe. I contacted the guy that was supposed to take me out, and I stayed with him in very inhumane conditions. I stayed there for more than 1 month. He took me out to sea. We were at sea for at least 20 hours. Then, the Libyan police took us back to Libya. I was arrested for 3.5 months that time. It's a kind of detention center for refugees. And in that place, I really went through a lot of difficult situations. Even rape, getting bitten, tortured. After that, I started to get to know people there. And I tried to do it the second time. I prepared myself. I paid new money. and I called in Egypt to get sent new money. And I went out for the second time. I was at sea for about 25 hours. And of course, it's in a plastic boat. And there's about 80 people. The first time, it was 106 people as I remember. And we went out, and the Libyan police came and took us back again. I was arrested for a month. This time, I didn't pay money to get out. I escaped. They were shooting in Tripoli, amongst other things, so everyone escaped, and I escaped with them. I tried to get out again for the third time, and this is how I came here to Malta. For this, I paid more than 1,500 euros to get here. For my social life, when it comes to safety, it's super safe for myself. The only thing that I'm a bit concerned about in Malta is that because Malta is so small, you're forced to meet everyone, and everyone knows everyone. So even though you don't know someone personally, you will see him somewhere, or you will know something about him. And this is because Malta is so small. I can meet a lot of Arabs, and for someone who is new and doesn't know the language, I had to start working in construction, some hard work. And most of these jobs are led by Arab people. Because of this, in itself, I cannot truly have my freedom. And this is one of the things that makes me think of moving out of Malta. Because I have to be surrounded by Arab people, and they don't accept someone who is gay. There is a small number of people from the community that can accept homosexuality. I want to be anonymous and change my voice and not show my face because, as I said, Malta is so small and everyone knows everyone. If they don't know someone personally, they will recognize him through his appearance, where he's from, or from his voice. So I'll get myself in the same problem.
Mali was not bad till my parents they died. I had a good. I mean, when I was with my father and my mother, everything was fine. And my father was working. He had a good job, and my mother she was working as well. So we had a big house. Everything was fine. And I was studying in a good school as well. Till my father died, so my uncle he moved to our house and he took over everything. I was gay, but I didn't show that part when I was in Mali because it wasn't possible. My father was Muslim, my mother was Muslim, and I came from a big family in Mali. They don't accept gay. For them, being gay is like a white sickness. You know, if you are a gay, it's a sickness. It means you are not perfect, you know. As you can see, I am a bit effeminate. Before my mother died, people used to say it's because he's close to his mother, that's why he acts like a woman. It's his mother's fault because he's too close to her. They did everything together, they go out together, everything was together. I was too close to my mother when I was young. That's true. When my mother died, I was still feminine, you know. Things start being hard for me because when she died, I didn't have any other excuse to show to people that it was because of my mother or something else. And I tried to be someone that I'm not, like being a strange man. Stop moving my hand, my finger when I'm speaking. Stop going out with my girlfriend, not girlfriend, but my friends who are ladies. I stopped going out with ladies. I stopped doing everything, you know. And I decide to be a man, a perfect man. Because at that time, I was living with my uncle. He took over everything. And he was telling me that I have to be a man. This is not good for his reputation, which is not good to see with his reputation, because everyone know him, you know. And I tell him that I am doing my best, you know. Till one day, one of my intimate pictures was published on Facebook, and I guess it was did by my cousin, because my cousin, he never likes me, because for him we are different. He's a man, he's a straight man. He go out with men, only men, and he has a girlfriend, and me, I never had a girlfriend when I was in my country. So he hates me, you know, because he wants a cousin with who he can go out together, chatting girls together, drinking beer together, as you know. And I was not that kind of cousin for him, and he hates me. Which pictures I was dressing like a girl, like a woman, and I sent to my boyfriend. So he published these pictures on Facebook, and my uncle came and he told me to leave the house, and there were people outside who was waiting for me to kill me, or I mean, for them it's abomination, you know. And finally my grandmom came to my uncle, and she told him to keep me inside, because if he leave me going outside and if he quit me out, it's like he's going to kill myself. He's going to kill me, you know, because people were waiting for me, because they said this is not good for Mali, this is not good for Mali reputation, you know. Homosexuality is something that we don't know in Africa, it's something we don't know in Mali. It's white sickness, and we don't want that kind of people in our community, in our country. And they decided finally to send me to a village. It's a small village, it's so far from the capital. I was born in the capital, grew up in the capital. And they told me that they will send me there, because there they have something like Vandur. I don't know the exactly name in English, but in our country we call them Como. They decided to send me there. For them it was a sickness. So they told me that they will send me there. We have three choose. First, that things which we call Como will try to change me, to make me like a straight man, and then I will stay in the village, because everyone know me in the city, so I cannot come back to the city. And the second point was, if that things cannot make me a man, I will become crazy. And the last was, or I will die. And my sister, she helped me to leave the house. That's why that was my life in Mali. My journey from Mali to Malta, it was not easy at all. I spent 2 weeks between Mali and Gao without knowing what I will do, what will happen in the future, because I didn't have money to pay the rest of the journey. And they told me that the only choice I have is to work for them, so they can try to bring me to Algeria. And there was a man with them who was Malian as well. When he felt horny, he came to me and he did sex with me without condom, without nothing. And I cannot say no. He told me, if you said no, he will speak with his friend, so they can kill me or they can do something bad with me. I didn't have choice, so I have to stop my mouth. I cannot stop anything. Whenever he came to me, I have to say yes. Like, even he doesn't ask me yes or no, he just do it, you know, and then he leave. So one man, he was Algerian. He find me in the street and he asked me, why are you crying? I explained to him my story, and he take me to his home. He gave me food, and he told me that your life will not be like a normal life if you want to stay in Algeria. The best place for you is to go to somewhere like You can live free, you can do whatever you want, you don't have to be scared to someone else. This man, I didn't know him. He paid money for me, and they brought me to Libya. I used to work in Libya without getting any pay back till we went to a man who send people to Europe, you know. And he told me, if you want to go, you have to pay such money. I said, I don't have such money to pay. I don't have anything, and I'm working to get money, and they don't pay me back when I finish working. He said, okay, you will work for me, and then I will send you to Europe. I said, okay. What was that job? That job was cooking for him, and if he needs sex, I have to be ready for him as well. I did it. I don't have any choice, because I want it in life. I want it to be me, and whatever will happen, I want to have this freedom, and I accept everything. Until one day he came to me in the morning. He said that, listen, it's time for you. You have to go. You have to try your chance. You know that if it's work, you will go to Italy. If it doesn't work, you will die, and your soul will stay in the sea. I said, no matter what will happen, it will be Italy or I will be under the sea. I don't care, because this is not a life for me. I was not born to have such life. And then we try, and it's work. I came to Malta. When we arrived in Malta, I didn't know that I can ask for protection. They just asked for my name, and then they put us on Marsa. There is a detention there. They put us on Marsa. I have been there over 4 weeks, and then they brought me to MCDA, and they asked me if I would like to ask for international protection. I said, okay, I want. And they asked me why you leave your country, and I told them, and then they bring us back to Marsa. After 1 week later, they sent us to Alpha. When I was living in Alpha, things was not easy at all over there as well. It wasn't easy, because sometimes I cannot control myself when I talk, you know. I cannot stop moving my hand. I cannot stop talking like this, you know. Sometimes, you know, it's natural. It's not something I chose. It's not something I want to do and I'm doing it. It's something on me. It's part of me. And people notice on me in Alpha that these men look like a woman, like a lady, and they start criticizing me. And some people start insulting me. And things start to become worse again. I said no. And on GRS, they told me that they are going to find a solution for me, because for them, there's these things that don't have to happen to me. I said okay. And then they spoke with between them, and they make me moved from Alpha to. So I was living there, and I have been waiting over 2 years for my second interview in MCDA to know what will happen in the future. Because when I first did I first asked for the protection, it was on 2018, and 2019 they didn't call me. They even till so far now, they didn't take my fingerprint. And finally, last month, they called me for an interview, and I did my interview. I'm still waiting for my answer now.
This project came through an idea, came through a feeling of need. I find that there is a lot of lack of information in a lot of institutions, and especially when we come to an intersectionality between two different things, between being migrant with different ethnicity or different skin color, with different culture and background, and in the same time being part of the LGBTIQ plus community. People, they suffer from one of this kind of this identity, because I said suffer because it's a struggle in itself throughout the society. Being gay, you always non-accepted from the conservative people, from the religious people, from society, from laws back home in Tunisia and in different other countries. And also not being accepted as a refugee or as a migrant in general, being a foreigner from the country that you are living in. So these two struggled, created in my mind a kind of why we don't have any support for these groups. And there is people who are here but they cannot speak out. Malta is so small, so people, they tend to see each other and they tend to end up in that community where family, they don't accept them, where they are facing the same kind of threats. They cannot show their faces, they cannot speak out, they cannot hold hands because they are scared that someone they know will see them and they will be reported back home, or they will be aggressed here. And this is why we said we need this project and we need to create this idea and we need to create this community as well to be together. One of the things, like a lot of people, they were suffering from even our own community, the LGBT community here. So there is a certain level of discrimination to people who are with different skin color, people who, from different nationality, and they tend to be excluded from our community. So and we find that if we are together, we can build a kind of strength, that we can stand for each other, we can explain to each other how things goes. We can also support each other when things like this happens.
Sfortunatament, nirċievu ħafna emails minn persuni LGBT barra minn Malta li jisaqsuna għall-għajnuna biex joħorġu minn pajjiżhom u jmorru jgħixu f'pajjiż sigur. Jiġifieri sfortunatament nirċievu anke videos u ritratti tad-daqqiet fuq l-ġisma ġifieri tan-nies u jitolbuna l-għajnuna biex joħorġu dik is-sitwazzjoni. U aħna sfortunatament għalissa m'għandniex is-saħħa li ngħinu il dawn in-nies. Flimkien ma' gruppi oħrajn fl-Ewropa bħal Transgender Europe qed nippruvaw naqdu wkoll network fejn naraw kif nistgħu ngħinu l-persuni trans mill-aħjar li nistgħu. Imma sfortunatament qatt m'għandniex dak in-network nistgħu ngħinu l-persuni LGBT illi qegħdin barra minn xtutna. Naħseb waħda mill-iktar stejjer diffiċli li ltqajna magħhom f'din l-aħħar sena kienet ta' immigrant li bħalissa qiegħed fid-detention. Dan il-persuna huwa gay u id-detention mhix sejf għalih. Waqt dan il-proġett li għaddejjin bih bħalissa għamilna wkoll webinar fejn meta tkellimna fuq ix-xogħol li tagħmel MGRM, fil-webinar stess kien hemm avukata li kuntattjatna u qaltilna bl-istorja ta' dan il-persuna. Dan il-persuna ġej minn Niġerja, minn post fejn li tkun omosessuali tfisser li jistgħu joqtluk. Dan il-persuna ingħata r-riġett, ġifieri Malta mhux ittieħ protezzjoni u qiegħed ukoll fid-detenzjoni li jfisser li għandu ċans kbira illi jintbagħat lura. U jekk jintbagħat lura dan il-persuna ħajjiġi torturat u probabbilment ukoll maqtul. Għax dan il-persuna ġa qabduh f'relazzjoni ma' persuna tal-istess sess tiegħu f'pajjiżu.
The asylum procedure in Malta has benefited from Malta's willingness to upgrade the rights of the LGBTI community. By this I mean that in recent months we've seen a dramatic improvement in the quality of the procedure for LGBTI applicants, meaning if someone has escaped their home country because they are gay, lesbian, trans or whatever membership of the LGBTI community, the procedure is now much more friendly to their claim. By this I mean it is easier for them to present their story. There are far less intrusive questions about their credibility, and there is much less emphasis on the need to prove the fact that one is gay or lesbian, etc. This is quite a significant improvement because up till some months ago we had several cases where people had to pass through very difficult questions by the then Office of the Refugee Commissioner, a situation where caseworkers did not have enough training to ask the kind of questions that are best used to extract the story of why a person fled their home country. We had some cases where clients were asked very inappropriate questions of a sexual and personal nature, and our attempts to change the procedure and assist individuals were quite unsuccessful. So we're very happy now that there's a very clear, marked effort on behalf of the International Protection Agency to be more friendly and more understanding of the rights of the LGBTI community. For the past year and a half, approximately, Malta has been implementing quite a harsh detention regime, meaning that all persons arriving in Malta in an irregular manner have been automatically put in a detention center. A detention center, for those of you who are not aware of what I'm talking about, is a prison-like structure with much less protection, much less standards than one would expect in a prison. So living conditions are extremely harsh. The regime itself is illegal, so Malta is detaining people on an illegal basis in the vast majority of cases. With specific reference to the LGBTI community, of course, there are very clear safety concerns, because in the detention centers there's very limited space to have safe physical space for people. There's of course the concern that once in detention, LGBTI applicants are afraid to announce or to declare their LGBTI identity to their colleagues and even to the staff in charge of the centers, which renders them more isolated and more vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. We have had cases of sexual violence on members of the community, and there seems to be little effort to be done to improve the quality of life within the centers. The very few times that clients have come forward to us to explain the situation, we have had limited success in bringing them out of detention on the basis of their vulnerability. So detention today remains a very serious concern for all asylum seekers in Malta, particularly for vulnerable people, including the LGBTI community. Once the procedure is over and an LGBTI refugee or migrant starts living in the community, it's not over. There are new challenges that the person faces. And in fact, what we see is that at this stage of life, when one expects stability and serenity, it's where the real struggles actually start. In many cases, the refugee or migrant community itself is rather homophobic. Without wanting to generalize, however, we do see a high level of homophobia within the migrant community. And we also see a very high level of racism within the gay community. As within the broader community in Malta, there is a high level of racism, which ultimately means that LGBTI refugees and migrants face a double discrimination. They cannot get protection from their own community, which is usually an incredible source of protection and support for migrants, and they cannot get protection from the Maltese community because of the fact that they are refugees or migrants. Now, we are very concerned about the inability and the difficulties faced by LGBTI refugees and migrants to settle down in Malta because of this double discrimination they face from both sides. The government offers spaces to asylum seekers to live in the open centres, and these are places where people can walk in and walk out freely as if it were their home, and they can stay there for a limited period, up to 6 months. Living conditions in the open centres are also extremely tough for everyone living there. Most open centres are rows of metal mobile containers and you have approximately 6 to 8 people living in each container. So privacy is an issue, which means that LGBTI asylum seekers or LGBTI refugees living in the center, again, have limited opportunity for being themselves and for living their true identities. Over there, we have been able to refer people to special procedures to assist them in becoming more independent, so that they may eventually leave the center and live in the community where they can have more privacy to be themselves. It's very normal for asylum seekers in Malta to engage in regular relationships with anyone else. It's part of normal life. However, the marriage registry does not allow persons who are in the procedure, including LGBTI applicants, to apply for marriage. The understanding of the government of Malta's marriage legislation is that for a person to be entitled to marry over here, they need to have a form of residence which is stronger than that of an asylum seeker. The idea is that they want to avoid marriages of convenience, so persons getting married simply to obtain a permit to remain in Malta. Our position on that is that there are other ways of verifying if a relationship is a true one, through interviews, for example, rather than imposing a blanket ban on all asylum seekers who are present in Malta. Keeping in mind that the asylum procedure could take a number of years, this means that asylum seekers living in Malta for all of those years are banned from entering into any solid relationships. The laws on family reunification, which means the possibility of a refugee to bring to Malta his or her spouse and dependent children, if any, applies to persons who are in a legally recognized relationship. If an LGBTI refugee is not married to his or her partner in the country of origin, it's impossible for that refugee to bring over the partner to Malta. If we're speaking about LGBTI refugees who fled their home country because their identity was not being recognized or because they were persecuted because of that, then chances are they would not have been in a marriage in their country of origin. This means that they are effectively impeded from bringing to Malta who might have been their partner back home.